Hello, welcome. This is the Resilient Rooster. I'm back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today I'm going to be showcasing Spiral Igknight. So Spiral has a lot of good normal support cards, so that's why I combined it with the Spiral engine. And essentially, Spiral has an amazing field spell, the Pacifist and Phantasm City. It basically allows you to add cards that can negate effects, things to destroy cards, and spell cards that can summon your Phantasm Spiral Dragon. And I played a 3 Torrential Tribute and a Needle Ceiling because you needed to break established boards and you needed to slow down established boards. So this is my deck list for now, and I would say my biggest gripe with this deck is once Red Reboot comes out, this deck will be just useless since your opponent activates Red Reboot and you can't activate any of your trap cards. But with that out of the way, let's get right onto the replays. In this first replay, I'm playing against DDDs and they get to go first. As you can see from my hand, I have Needle Ceiling and Torrential Tribute. Both of these cards are board wipes, but the main purpose of me running them is to get rid of my own token. If you have the field spell and your opponent activates a card effect, you get a token. But that token usually just sits there. And if you get rid of your own token, that means that you can summon another token later and get more advantage. So I really like these cards in the deck. My opponent, they made a very good board, but I made a misplay here. I shouldn't have activated the Pacifist because there was number 38. I should have just set my 2 cards and just pass. Because the moment I could already activate Needle Ceiling since there's 4 monsters on board, but I was waiting until they normal summon so that way I could get rid of all their cards. My face down card is safe because Needle Ceiling only destroys face up cards. So at this point I was at an advantage. I was ready to basically summon my Spiral Phantasm Dragon, and I'm grinding them down at this point. They have no cards in their hand and they're top decking at this point. DDDs, they usually need 2 cards to go off, so they have 1 card. They just need 1 more other card in order to fusion summon. But I hope to win before that happens. So I was able to equip all my cards to the Phantasm Spiral Dragon. That way I can summon another one and just attack for game. The main asset of this deck is the field spell. You want to try to draw this as soon as you can because it's what starts the engine going. I don't run set rotation, and the main reason is if your card gets destroyed and your opponent has a face down field spell, you can't activate another one, and it really slows down this deck a lot. My opponent made the Tornado Dragon, and Tornado Dragon is very good against this deck because it's good to destroy the field spell. I basically had to get rid of 2 cards in order to get rid of the Tornado Dragon, but it was worth it because I was able to basically clear the whole field. And right now they don't have any cards on the field. This basically means that I can essentially OTK them. I attacked with both of my Ignite cards, I attacked with my Phantasm, I got the Spiral Dragon, and attacked for game. I would say any hand that gives you access to the field spell and a normal summon monster is off to a great start, since you're able to get that extra card on your turn and an extra card on your opponent's turn. As long as your field spell doesn't get Ghost Ogred, you're pretty much good to go. So in this case, these 2 extra cards helped me slow down the Batterman, otherwise they probably would have OTK'd me. So they were able to get their token, they got their field cell, and their field cell was able to basically bounce my field spell. I didn't want to use all my cards because I don't want to waste all my resource, on the spot. They did get rid of my token, which is good. That basically means that I'm able to get an extra token if they activate another card effect. But since I had a normal summon monster, I just used it, that way I was able to add my cards. This might have 0 attack, but I do have the Torrential Tribute in the back. But I don't want to activate the Torrential Tribute yet since I want to get my token first. As soon as you get your token and you get your extra card, then you can use your Torrential Tribute. So if they ever activate a card effect, I'm able to, or if they ever summon a monster, I can finally use my Torrential Tribute, which gets rid of all their cards. And at this point, I pretty much have the card advantage. I have a lot of cards in my hand and my opponent activates a card, which basically means I get a token and my token gets me another card. So I'm off to, a decent start. These 2 cards would help me get rid of a Borlo Dragon if it ever comes down to it. They were able to, get a lot of cards on board, but I slowed them down by negating their effects. And I didn't want to deal with any big problematic cards that I'm not sure of, so I just destroyed the Mrs. Radiant. And at this point, I was pretty much confident that I had the game in the bag. I equipped all the cards to my Dragon token, so I baited out the Linkuriboh, that way I could summon my Phantasm Spiral Dragon, and I was able to summon basically 2 cards. And this is pretty much good for game. They did activate the Scapegoat, but I activated my Spiral Battle from the grave, which equips my cards on the field to the dragon. So now I can just attack and it does piercing damage. One of the main trumps of playing Spiral is the ability to use trap cards from your hand. But with Red Reboots getting released soon, it'll probably make that strategy less reliable since your opponent will be able to stop you from using trap cards for the whole turn. And at that point, you're just playing vanilla beatdown, and that's not really great in the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! But if you can somehow survive the onslaught of your opponent's field, you do get enough advantage to hopefully bring you back in the game. Right now, I sort of misplayed in summoning my token here, because when I summoned my token, I didn't get any advantage, so I should have waited until the next turn. That way, I'll be able to get an extra card on my opponent's turn. I still end up getting the token on my opponent's turn, but they had to use a Dark Hole on it, and they probably didn't need to. So whenever you're playing this deck, remember just to use your resource carefully. And at this point, it's pretty much almost game, since I'm able to attack with all my cards, and during the main phase 2, I'm able to basically send the last card from their hand to the grave, and they're top decking. They drew Soul Charge, but it was not enough. In most of these replays, I had access to the field spell, so that was pretty good. I would say your chance of winning the game is super hard if you don't open up the field spell, since that's your main source of gaining card advantage. My opponent, they had a lot of hand traps, so they were able to stop almost all of my cards from activating. And at this point, I only have like 2 cards in my hand, and I'm relying on this last field spell that I have in my hand to actually get me somewhere. I think I wasted both already. No, I wasted 1. So I still have 1 left in my deck. I was able to, get a normal summon monster, which was pretty good. Rhoda is good generic support, and that's why I chose Ignites to use for the vanilla monsters. Because I feel that if it's possible, maybe you could pen up summon multiple and hopefully OTK. I haven't done that before, but it sounds good in theory. My opponent is just trying to make a beefy field, and I felt that if they were to run like the Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, they would have been able to avoid this loss, since they would have been able to bounce that card back to my hand, and none of this would have been happening. But I got lucky that they didn't run the Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, so I was able to attack for game. So that's it for the replays. If you enjoy it, please leave a like. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.